One is Christian B. here in Burnaby, Vancouver-based real estate agent, and welcome to Rapid Fire Real Estate, where we run through 5-6 topics, spend a couple of minutes on each, and you can take that intel with you out into the marketplace. All right, so for today's video, I want to start with the first topic, which is the myth of affordability. So, as we know, the big talk of real estate is the province's big plan. We are going to see 4-plexes and 6-plexes on detached lots going forward. Well, with all that supply, prices are going to be cheaper, right? Not so fast. So I went to a discussion at SFU last week with the mayor of Burnaby, builders, and a number of people in the real estate space. And it was very interesting what came out of this discussion. Halfway through, we did this pro forma, where we looked at the builder's costs. And when you look at the builder's costs to buy land at today's prices, hold the land at today's interest rates, guess what it would cost the builder to make a 15% profit? What would they have to sell one of those 4-plexes for? Turns out the answer is $1.8 million, not including GST. $1.8 million. And of course, a number of realtors rightly asked the question, how does that really address affordability? How many buyers out there can really afford a $1.8 million purchase? What goes into that? Well, first you have to have $400,000 saved, right? Because you need a minimum 20% down payment. You've got to pay the property transfer taxes. And second, the second high bar to jump here is you've got to qualify with the bank to carry that kind of a mortgage. And that's over $7,000 a month mortgage. Those are two high bars to hurdle. And I think what we're really going to see is if that is the real price of a 4-plex unit, $1.8 million, we are not going to see affordability. There's a lot of talk about affordability, and I'm sure the premier means very well, and the government wants more options for buyers, young couples, but not at those prices. And the permitting costs for developers are with the city are too high, and really, when do those costs ever come down? They never do. So we're going to have to see something more. Here's where it gets interesting. 6-plex units could be sold at $1.2 million. Now, that would be interesting. They're saying that for builders at that price point, they could turn a profit. And if those units are 1,500 square feet, 3 bedrooms, okay, and they're located in Vancouver, Burnaby, that is a step in the right direction. But I still think the prices are too high. Here's my take on it. If you really want to address affordability, you got to make bigger, substantive changes. You got to swing for the fences, baby. And I would say here's several ideas. One, you could extend amortization periods. You could go back to the 30-year mortgage amortization. You could even go 35 years. And that would automatically lower those payments, $500, $600, $700 a month. Second, you could lessen the down payment requirements. So today, if you're buying over $1 million, which is a lot of condos downtown, you have to have 20% saved, $200K. Well, what if we said up to $1.5 million, you can buy with 10%? That's a lot easier, 10% or less. Third, eliminate the stress test. There's no reason we couldn't do that. The purpose of it was to, if interest rates went up, well, they did, and they're coming back down. The fourth option here could be something that we are trending towards, which is a decrease in interest rates, which will bring down monthly payments. Now, admittedly, with any of these or all of these, we would see more buyers get into the market, and you'd probably see prices go up. That's how markets work, my friends. Now, jumping to our next topic, and that is 4-month notice to end tenancies. We talked about this in a previous video. You probably see it talked about in other videos as well. Look, the big problem that I have with this is it really looks like an effort to penalize landlords. I mean, really, how much time does a tenant need to find a new home? Do you really need 4 months? I've lived in Japan, Mexico, Australia, of course here in Canada. I don't think it's ever taken me more than 2 weeks to find a rental. And most of those all of those were rentals. I didn't start owning property until here in Canada. So what it really looks like is the province giving the landlords a kick in the groin. I mean, there's no reason that someone needs 4 to 5 months to find a place to live. And if it's taking you that long, you're not trying smart enough, and you're not trying hard enough. Next topic. Credit card rates. I got a piece of mail from one of our big banks, and they offered me a new credit card. And so I'm looking at the rates that they charge. And I've got one of those credit cards where, it just pays off at the end of the month. Well, if you don't, it's always a bit of a shock to me when I see these numbers, but there's credit card rates run from 18% to 21%. And what is it? The MasterCard Air Miles card for this big bank is charging 22%. If you don't pay that off, your charge is off at the end of the month. Folks, you got to be very careful. It's my advice that you never, ever get a credit card with this kind of stuff. The funny thing is, I can't believe banks can get away with charging up to 29%, which is in that document. And people get upset if a landlord charges 2%. Wants to increase the rent by that much. It's unbelievable. Somebody should hold the banks accountable for these kind of interest rates. Okay, next. The financial advisors who recommend not buying your principal residence. Okay, here's the truth. It's because they don't own one themselves. Nobody is going to give you that advice in Canada, as your principal residence is tax-free. That's the one bone that Canadian taxman throws you. So if it goes from $800,000 to $1.2 million, you've increased your net worth by $400,000 minus the fees. That's yours to keep. It doesn't work that way in the United States. And there was a financial advisor putting YouTube comments in one of my previous videos, and whenever I see that, I know they're renting. They don't own. And remember, if you're buying real estate with $80,000, you're buying with leverage. You can buy an $800,000 unit with $80K. It goes up 10% in value. You've just added $80,000 in net worth. But if you took your $80,000 and it went up and put it in the stock market and it went up 10%, you've added $8,000. I mean, and you might have to pay tax on that if it's in a margin account. So look, I mean, this is a slam dunk no-brainer, is to buy your own principal residence in Canada. And if you can rent it out, there's even more income coming there as well. Moving to our final topic, I had a client ask me about if there's a lot of listings in a building, does that mean there's something wrong with it? And I would say usually not. I'd say 4 to 5 times it's just a coincidence. It's very random. It's happened to me. I've been putting a listing up in a building, and then the following week there's 2 more listings. I had no idea. I wasn't in contact with the realtors. I didn't know the sellers. It's just one of those coincidences. I would say there's 2 exceptions to this. One is if there is construction right across the street. People don't want to be exposed to the noise, the dirt, the dust flying in the air. And so they just don't like that. And of course, they're losing their view. The second, it could be if there is a large special assessment. Something like a rain screening, that could run $50,000 to $100,000. Now, most buildings in the Lower Mainland have already been rain screened over the last 2 decades. But if it's something like that, people can't afford it. Sure, they may try to list their property for sale. Okay, but even then, there's ways to deal with that. You can go to the bank and get a loan, and have towards that special levy and so on. So, folks, thank you for watching. Thank you to all my new subscribers. If you've got any comments, questions, opinions you want to share, you can do that below, and you can reach out to myself as well. You'll find my link and comments contact below. Thank you for watching. See you next time.